What's up guys, this is TCG Sam here, and in today's video I'm super excited to be bringing you guys my completely budget Shaddoll deck profile. So you guys managed to hit 15 likes on the budget Shaddoll duel replay video, and as promised, here's the list. I promise this list is 100% budget, like no Dragoon, no Invoke, no Dogmatika stuff. Like the most expensive card is probably Shaddoll Schism, or it's like 10 Canadian dollars at most. But yeah, other than that, this deck should be completely budget, and like you can pretty much make it for just 3 structure decks plus a few other staples, and it can still definitely compete with the meta, as you guys could see in the duel replay. But yeah, anyways, without further ado, let's begin. Alright, starting off with the monsters, play 3 Shaddoll Squamata, 3 Shaddoll Wendy. So like these are definitely the core Shaddolls in the deck. Not much to explain here. These are the ones you want to be seeing to start off your fusion plays, because you can actually do stuff with them. Like Squamata gives you any card in your deck. Wendy just sets you up for a future turn by setting like a Falco or a Beast or something. It's really good. Wendy's also important because it's an other attribute for Aklone. And Aklone is probably going to be one of the best cards in this deck. And you guys are about to see why. Next, I decided to play triple Hedgehog. In a budget build, you're not able to play that many fusion spells, which is a point that I've reiterated many times. So there are going to be times where you might want to summon a Hedgehog off of Shaddoll Wendy, set it, and then just add a fusion spell for next turn or something. And it's also really good in a grind game because it just lets you continue getting resources every time you fuse with it. So like you fuse with this, you get a Shaddoll Wendy or Squamata for a fusion play on your opponent's turn or for your next turn. So that way you never run out of monsters for fusion summoning. And since you don't have cards like Access Code Talker or Borosword Dragon in the budget build, you really need to focus on your fusion summoning plays, which is why I believe 3 Hedgehogs is definitely necessary. Double Beast, pretty standard. You definitely need more than one because you want to be summoning it off of Wendy a lot. It's probably the best target to summon off Wendy. It's also useful sometimes when you don't have a fusion spell. You can try to draw into it off of Mathematician by dumping Squamata and dumping this to thin your deck out and hopefully draw a fusion spell. Next for the one-ofs, 1 Falco, 1 Dragon, 1 Aerial. I think these all definitely have their own purposes. Falco I put specifically in the budget build because it gives the deck such a good grind game. So like that way you also don't die, and you can kind of stall out a turn to give you the chance to draw the cards you need. Yeah, and Falco's just really good. So like when you don't know what you want to send, so like if you already use like Wendy and Hedgehog for the turn, like you can just send a Falco off of your construct or something, just set it as a play for next turn. Really good for your grind game. Dragon, self-explanatory, destroy spells and traps, and also can act as disruption with Shaddoll Incarnation if you set it off Wendy. Aerial is very good for its triple DD Crow effect when it's sent to the grave, and of course its banished recursion effect. I only play 1 because I really don't think you're going to be doing the turn 1 combo where you burn your Shaddoll Incarnation, which is why you're going to notice I only play 1 Shaddoll Incarnation 2, because I feel like with this build you really don't want to be doing that combo turn 1. You're playing more of a grindy style of the deck because like it's a little more difficult for this deck to OTK because it doesn't have Borosword and Access Code. But yeah, that's it for the Shaddoll lineup. I think fairly standard. Next for the normal summons, triple Mathematician, 1 Armageddon Knight. So Mathematician, as you know, honorary Shaddoll card, because this just acts as any Shaddoll card in your deck, and when it dies it gives you resources by drawing a card. Armageddon Knight is I just wanted an extra normal summon because Shaddolls don't really have that good of a normal summon, and I just want to always at least be able to see one of these. Armageddon Knight is fine to draw with Mathematician because you have cards like Allure of Darkness and stuff in this deck to get rid of it, and it's a dark. Armageddon Knight is essentially the same thing as Mathematician, just that Armageddon Knight can't send a card like Perform Ace Trick Clown, but that I don't really think that matters. Pretty standard lineup here. You definitely need these guys if you're playing a budget build. They act as pseudo starters and extenders, just really good. And also I've noticed a lot of times in my duels, Mathematician always forces out a negate from my opponent, so that can be good if you're trying to activate your fusion spells and get them to resolve. Next, to play 1 Trick Clown. I don't play the other clown, the damage juggler, because I feel like you really don't need it. Even if you resolve Shaddoll Fusion going second, it doesn't become a 1 card OTK because you don't have cards like Borosword or Access Code Talker, unfortunately. So Trick Clown is just I decided to only leave the trick on because it's still good with Mathematician to go straight into a Link 2. Like you can make a cross sheep off that or a proxy F magician off of that, which is just really good. Other than that, obviously best light target in the deck to send off Shaddoll Fusion, pretty good. Next for my spicy tech, I played 2 Danger Mothman. This is gonna seem a little weird, but the reason I like Danger Mothman in this deck is because it can definitely trigger all of your Shaddolls effects in your hand. So like, your brick hands are going to be the ones where you don't draw a fusion spell, and you just need ways to further dig into your deck for fusion spells. But unfortunately, you can't play cards like Potter Desires because you have too many 1-ofs and you can't risk banishing a lot of your fusion spells. But yeah, Danger Mothman just kind of fills that role because of many things. One, it's a free body on the board, so like you can use it to make a Cross Sheep, Proxy F Magician, or link up into Boral Load Dragon. Another good thing about it is it's a dark, so even if it kind of bricks your hand, you can use it as a Lure of Darkness target. And finally, like I said, it's a dark, so you can definitely use it as fusion material for Winda if you need. But other than that, it's just really good. And even if it's hit, even if your opponent hits it, you can draw 1, discard 1. So you still essentially dig into your deck and trigger your Shaddoll effect, which is just really good. That's why I really like it. Not 3, because if you see multiples, it just becomes really bad. But I think 2 is definitely alright to use. Finally, I played 3 Effect Veiler. This is probably the best budget hand trap. Even though I know it's like a couple of dollars, it's a lot more expensive than I thought it was. But it's still really good in this deck, well, obviously because it's a light and because it can stop cards like Anaconda. So, Veiler, pretty good. Next for the spells. So I can play only 2 Allure of Darkness. You can definitely make an argument for 3. I just feel like I don't want to be banishing too many of my Shaddolls because I need them for my grind game, and this deck I noticed is a lot more grindy than a non-budget Shaddoll build, which can just like OTK out of nowhere. So I decided 2 Allure of Darkness was good. You definitely need draw cards to draw into your fusion spells to actually start your plays, so it's really important to have Allure of Darkness. And then of course 3 Shaddoll Fusion, 3 L Shaddoll Fusion. These are like your your starter cards. You definitely need to max out on these because you're not going to be able to make plays unless you see them. Shaddoll Fusion is still very powerful going second. Even if you can't OTK them, you're able to set up a really good board off of just like 1 construct, which is pretty incredible. So nothing to explain there, but I do play 1 more fusion spell, and that's actually Naf Shaddoll Fusion. So for those of you who don't know what this card does, you activate this by declaring an attribute, and you equip it to a Shaddoll monster you control, and then it becomes that attribute. And then during your main phase, you can fusion summon 1 Shaddoll Fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as fusion material, including the equipped monster. So the reason why this is so good is there are going to be hands where you don't open Mathematician or your Armageddon Knight, and you just have a bunch of Shaddolls. You can normal that Shaddoll, equip this, declare a light, and then fuse away with that and another Shaddoll. In that case, it just kind of acts as your other L Shaddoll Fusion or Shaddoll Fusion. I only play 1 because obviously it's not as good as the other ones. It's not as flexible because you have to have a Shaddoll on the board, but it's really good because it turns your hand full of dark Shadolls into a construct play, which is just super necessary. Sometimes I just like this as an extra starter. And then I played the triple super polymerization. This card you definitely need in the budget build. This is kind of like your these are your 3 bomb cards in the deck, 3 blowout cards. Because against Dragoon, you're gonna be staring down Anaconda Dragoons at times, so you can just make Starving Venom Fusion Dragon to kind of out that. Otherwise, because this deck otherwise would struggle quite a bit facing down a Dragoon. But yeah, other than that, not much to say. Really good in Shaddolls because you can just have a Shaddoll on the board and you use one of your opponent's monster, turn it into a Winda or a Construct, and just go plus from there. Super good. Definitely needed in the budget build in my opinion, especially now because of Dragoon 2. 1 Foolish Burial, it's just extra copy of every Shaddoll in your deck. And finally, the 3 Shaddoll traps. I'm going to explain each one of them. So starting off with Shaddoll Schism, this card is really good. It gives you such a great grind game because it gives you free fusion monsters during every turn. So you play on your opponent's turn as well as your own turn, and it acts as monster disruption because you send your opponent's cards to the grave as well. It's just really powerful. I definitely think 1 is enough because you can like keep adding it back. Same thing with Rational Incarnation. It's really good for looping in the grind game, and I never want to use this banish effect unless I'm sure I have game or my opponent's not going to be able to come back from anything. So that's why I think 1 is definitely enough. I know a lot of builds are playing 2 because you want the going first combo where you flip up the aerial, summon the construct from the banish zone, but I don't think you do that combo with the budget build. And then finally, one Shaddoll core. This card is very, very underrated. Honestly, before I thought it was kind of a brick, and like it can be a problem sometimes, like when you draw it, but like there's so many other times where you can dump it off Schemata or a construct, and you just get a free Shaddoll spell or trap back from your grave, which is just huge sometimes because you don't always want to link off your fusion monsters to make gravity control or whatever, add back something. And also, even if you draw this, it kind of replaces itself after you fusion it, because like you grab the fusion spell back, and this can also act as any attribute, which is pretty important. In addition to that, like honestly, it just helps your grind game so much, which is super important in this deck, because this is more of a control version of Shaddolls, since you don't have, once again, like you don't have cards like Access Code or Boral Sword. But yeah, hopefully that explains my theory. And that's it for the main deck. 40 cards. You definitely need to keep it 40 to maximize your consistency. And for the extra deck, double El Shaddoll Aklone. This card is incredible. Honestly, it just help. It's just so good, especially if you keep looping it with like Shaddoll Inclination. You could just stick it in defense, negate something, link it off, get another search and a plus. It's just super good. Not much needed to be said about that. And then I decided to play a triple construct. Like I said, this is a grindy build, even though you only have 4 light monsters in your main deck. Once the first construct hits the grave, cards like Shaddoll Schism just work super well. You can banish it from the graveyard and summon your other construct. Construct just, honestly, incredible card. Definitely play 3 in this deck. And then I also decided to play triple winda. This is going to seem like a really heavy Shaddoll lineup, and that's because, like I said earlier, this deck specifically is going to be focused on fusion summoning to win. You don't have heavy link plays that you can make with this deck to go into big monsters to OTK your opponent, so you're going to rely on your fusions a lot more. And if you ever run out of fusions, you're just in such a bad spot, because your fusions are what you use to win, and winda is just super good. Your opponent just needs to keep outing these. This is kind of your pseudo win condition right here, so I definitely think triple winda is correct. I'm gonna play one El Shaddoll Shekanaga, because of your mathematicians. Once they go into grave, cards like Shaddoll Schism is really good. It also helps mathematician dodge stuff like Imperm and Veiler. If you have an El Shaddoll fusion, just fuse that away and one Shaddoll in your hand, make this. Also acts as a pseudo negate and is pretty big, so not too bad. El Shaddoll Shekanaga is not too bad of a card. And then one Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. I feel like this is the only super poly target you need, mainly for Dragoon, because against anything else, like Super Ultimate Conductor, Tyranno, Eldritch, you have like Construct, and like any other dark deck, you have winda. So I really think it covers a lot of the bases. Like the only thing that you might want to consider adding is something for Infernobles, but the problem I see against that deck is they're never going to let you keep the super poly because they always smoke grenade. They're going to smoke grenade it out. So that's why I didn't consider putting it in any Infernoble targets in my extra deck. Except for the fusion monsters. For the linked monsters, Gravity Controller, I love this card in this deck, and it is so good. You definitely have to play this. It just triggers your fusions for free, and it kind of makes your construct essentially able to quote-unquote search any Shaddoll spell or trap in the deck. So like going second, if you don't open Shaddoll fusion, you can put the construct here, turn this to Gravity Controller, grab this fusion back, and the Shaddoll fusion from your deck for another construct. It's just insane, this card. One Cross Sheet, very good for fusion decks. Obviously, you gotta bring something back to Link Climb or use as further fusion material. Play one Shaddoll Contract. This is gonna seem a little weird, but in this deck I noticed you're able to get out a lot of Shaddoll monsters on the board, whether from like Falco, Reshaddoll, Wendy, stuff like that. And if once you're able to make this, like, it's so good. It's a Shaddoll name, it's a light, and it acts as a fusion spell, so like it's pretty much all you can ask for. Shaddoll Contract, very good, especially in a budget build. I have a proxy for Proxy F Magician. Pretty much what it does, it's a link to fire with 1400 attack, that point bottom left, bottom right, and its effect is during your main phase you can fusion summon using monsters from your field as fusion materials, and it takes like 2 effect monsters to make or something. So it just acts as an extra fusion outlet, which I decided to max out on, so like that's why I play cards like Construct, because this deck struggles with getting fusion materials out. But yeah, other than that, pretty good. It's fire attribute, unfortunately, so you can't use it with like anything important, but other than that, it's not too bad. And it's also a common from Eternity Code, so it's super cheap. I just don't have it at the moment. Finally, one Borlo Dragon. So this is your kind of your Link 4 boss monster that you climb into with like Cross Sheep. It's like the cheapest one I could think of that actually does something. So like this kind of outs Dragoon as well. Once you bait out the negate, you can steal the Dragoon. Dragoon is like 4k. You blow something up, and like you attack and then blow stuff up, and then you have a negate, and it just gets them to the grave the next turn. And also Borlo can still be a problem for some decks out, which is just still good to remember. So yeah, that's gonna do it for the deck profile. For the side deck, honestly, you can just play any like very cheap hand traps like Artifact Lancia, Token Collector, stuff like that. And aside from Gamma package is also really good. If you have a little bigger budget, you can get like Nibiru, Dark Ruler No More, stuff like that. But otherwise, you play cards like Twin Twisters that come in the Structure deck. Harpy's Feather Duster should get a reprint soon. Red Reboot, Dino Wrestler, Pankratops, obviously, which is just really good. And yeah, that's pretty much it for Paleozoic Dynamiscus is a very good card in this deck. Triggers your Shaddolls and acts as spot removal. So yeah, you want to be sure to get those cards for your side deck. I just didn't make one because side deck obviously is up to you. It depends on how big of a budget you have. But yeah, anyways, that's gonna do it for the budget Shaddoll deck list. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Just remember, this is completely budget, so obviously it may not be the most ideal build of Shaddolls because everything I try to keep everything as cheap as possible. But obviously this still works, as you can see from the duel video. So yeah, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please remember to leave a like and subscribe because it really helps keep me motivated to keep posting videos. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching once again, and I will see you soon. If you guys want the cheapest Yugioh cards on the market in Canadian dollars with free shipping to Canada, then be sure to check out my eBay page in the description below.